everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Todd McFarlane Day. It's Friday. Hope you've got a great weekend planned for yourselves, guys. This is Spawn issue number 23, August 1994. All right, so gonna reiterate a few things. This is Todd McFarlane's last run on the art, and I have to be really honest, I'm very disappointed because I'd forgotten that Greg Capullo was helping out so much on these issues. Really starting with issue 21, 22 was a little more obvious, the last review, and this one's like, it's just getting more and more obvious that McFarlane is doing less and less, and Greg Capullo is doing more and more. Still, I would definitely credit the whole cover to McFarlane, but you'll notice there's just the anatomy and the approach to anatomy is just completely different between Greg Capullo and Todd McFarlane. So you're still getting the McFarlane aesthetic once again on top because he is doing the final inks for sure. But everything else underneath is Greg Capullo, and it's really apparent with this issue. So again, I'd kind of forgotten that. I'm a little disappointed. So really, the last real Todd McFarlane comic, I think, is Spawn Batman. It's, you know, the stuff he did here after that is maybe a bit of penciling and a lot of inking over someone else. Even though it's officially credited to him, there's always that special thanks notice to Greg Capullo. So again, knowing Greg Capullo's art and just, you know, the few issues he's already done on Spawn that we're going to review when I do Greg Capullo, and the issues where he's officially going to jump on, there's not much of a difference. I understand, you know, and it's kind of come back to me. I remember reading about this back in the day in an interview with McFarlane. He was talking about how, you know, slowly but surely you wouldn't know who was doing what, and they were kind of mixing stuff together. Well, that really happened here between issues 21 to 24, and culminated in officially Greg Capullo getting the penciling credit, and then McFarlane inking, and eventually McFarlane inking less and less, and Danny Miki taking over, which was awesome too. McFarlane was great on top of Capullo. I do think Miki maybe is a little bit better on top of him. Both are kind of fun, but I do prefer the Miki inks on Capullo as opposed to McFarlane, funny enough. But again, McFarlane's still doing the covers, so the McFarlane pose, the hands and stuff, you know, that Greg Capullo doesn't just typically draw this way. He's a bit more talented when it comes to foreshortening, and just slightly better at it than Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane is better at kind of the pizzazz of it, at least at this point, but eventually Greg Capullo is going to graduate to that same level. So just another kind of run-of-the-mill Spawn cover, you know, looking cool. He's introduced the lace to close the gap in the middle of his face here, so I think that's just kind of a design element that McFarlane enjoys and is having fun with. That's what he's doing here. The last three covers, right, issue 21, 22, and this one 23, just a straight-up kind of poster shot, pin-up shot of Spawn, basically. A lot of stuff that doesn't take too long and that helps you meet your deadlines pretty quickly. So let's have a look inside, guys. We have a rundown of the characters, right? Spawn's been cornered by Sam and Twitch. Tony Twist is after Spawn, wants to get rid of him once and for all with the help of Overt Kill. And we've got Jason Wynn and Wanda. Well, Jason Wynn being mixed into Wanda's life by tormenting her husband, Terry, right? That's basically where we're at with that story. So you've got like story, I guess in this case, A, B, C, and D. There's like 4 stories going on here. And a lot of the shots of the faces here are actually taken from this comic. So this page is pretty much just a recap page and with recycled art. So The Hunt Part 3, story and art, Todd McFarlane. Special thanks to Greg Capullo. We know why. Copy editor and letters, Tom Orzechowski. And color, Steve Olive and Ollie Optics. All right, so again, Terry has been trapped by Overkill. Again, the perspective here, looking up, is just something I see Greg Capullo constantly doing, especially during Spawn. He uses this angle a lot. And it's just not something McFarlane uses a lot. So right away, I know this is a Greg Capullo layout. I talked about last review, the kind of pointy little top lip that he does, that he did on X-Force. You know, he's incorporating the triangular eyes from McFarlane. And again, some of the fidgety detail and stuff, obviously, like I said here, being inked by McFarlane. And I don't even think McFarlane's inking everything. He might already have inking assists from someone else on this. But yeah, the way the leg goes off, the foreshortening is just, everything screams Capullo to me. This issue may be just fully Capullo with Todd McFarlane inks. Actually, I'm pretty much convinced of it. Nice kind of stoic pose of Spawn. I always thought it was hilarious that like his, you know, his pelvic thrust in the shot. I don't know where his other leg is, but yeah, he's definitely like you know, pretty much pointing his crotch out there first. This cape folding over the skull is maybe a little bit awkward. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, story-wise, I don't know what to say. It's just all of the same old Spawn tropes that we're going to be seeing for issue after issue. The Mafia going after Spawn, Sam and Twitch going after Spawn. You know, it's really decompressed storytelling. I think maybe starts with Todd McFarlane here. He's definitely treading over ground that has been established in the very early issues and just kind of retreading all of that. Again, when he incorporates those McFarlane tropes, he does it well. The close-up like this of the eye and stuff, that's definitely, you know, little tricks that he gets from McFarlane. I don't know, Jason Wynn looks a little wall-eyed here. Looks odd. Spawn was always the best colored series, but there's some times where they kind of overdo it. Like some of the reflections and the white here on Overt Kill's body just looks a little odd, right? So Terry basically getting his ass kicked by Overkill, and I mean, he's not a superhuman, so it's I mean, it starts to tread along the line of unbelievability as much as you could unbelieve something you're reading in a Spawn comic, right? Spawn saves Terry, pulls him away from Overt Kill, and we've got what I would describe here less of a Spawn pose and almost more of a Spider-Man kind of thing going on here. So maybe Capullo's looking at the old Spider-Man issues as well and working some of that in there. But yeah, this very, like I said, this mouth is typically Capullo. All of this, there is no McFarlane at all in this panel. Then you get bits like this. So this one I would wonder if maybe McFarlane, you know, either changed it a lot in the inking or actually may have drawn the original, because the mouth, the roundness of the hands and stuff just feels a little bit more McFarlane here and there. But like, I've never seen McFarlane do a pose like this. This is just the anatomy and stuff. This is all Greg Capullo. You know, McFarlane, when he drew Overkill, I'm going to call him. I've said this before. I hate that name, Overkill. When he did him in issues 6 and 7, there was never this whole kind of silhouetted outlook and this dark shadow on him. So definitely it seems to be, for some reason, something Greg Capullo's worked in there. Maybe it helps him draw faster, helps him avoid all of those asymmetrical details on Overkill that were added by Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane during the most 90s comic book video ever, which is, you can find these on YouTube. I forget exactly what they're called, but just, you know, the Rob Liefeld with Stan Lee interviewing them while they draw, create characters, and talk a little bit about their approach towards comics. Yeah, Wanda's just like, you know, McFarlane was never the most adept at drawing women. I just feel like Capullo is much better at it, and that's a good example of it here. All the action here, yeah, it's just like more exciting. I guess just the staging of it is better than what McFarlane usually does. McFarlane, again, he gets a lot of stuff over with his design and his aesthetic. Capullo does to a certain extent. Excuse me. But his strong compositions are really what sells most of it, right? And again, the great foreshortening that he does, I would always say, a lot better than McFarlane. But then he'll do sequences, right? This sequence is definitely a McFarlane type sequence. You know, he's got his beats down. He's able to use them. You know, possibly McFarlane maybe even still doing, you know, very minimal thumbnail layouts for this. Overkill gets shot in the ear by Twitch. Walks off. Youngblood, Bad Rock. So that's obviously Cyborg. It even refers here. The Cyborg lumbers off. It has a new directive. See Youngblood number 7, which I reviewed, so you can look that up. Kind of odd that he goes from, you know, fighting Spawn in New York to wherever Bad Rock is skiing. I don't know if it's the Swiss Alps or if it's in the States or something, but anyways, kind of an odd segue for Overkill. And we finish off this issue with a great down shot from Greg Capullo. Spawn's got his ass kicked. Terry's got his ass kicked. And as Detective Twitch says here, what a bloody mess. And that is it for this issue. As we've talked about in prior reviews, here's, you know, the main reason McFarlane's moving away from the comic book and the art side of things to focus on his toy company, which we know by now, this first wave of characters truly revolutionary. Just much more detail, much more interesting looking figures compared to what was going on and being put out at that time. You know, when you look at them now, you maybe would say, yeah, okay, compared to what's coming out today. But McFarlane is the guy who pushed all throughout the 90s to get to the level of detail and articulation that the toys have today. It's also why toys now cost like, you know, $50 for an action figure, but, and more so obviously for collectibles. I know I have a few action figures, but I'm not really into that, man. That just takes up a lot of space and seems quite expensive. Comics already take up enough space. Got a few pinups here. I guess at this point, John Cleary's working hard for Tom McFarlane Studios, doing Boof. So we've got a pinup of Boof here, which is basically also an advertisement for Boof. We got John Beatty here doing a Spawn, and like I'd never seen much John Beatty art, and I wasn't sure who he was. Now it's just dawned on me now, literally, that John Beatty is an inker who's quite often been paired with Kelly Jones. So I can kind of see it here in the finish that, yeah, I see some of the stuff that he does over Kelly Jones as well in the finish of the inking here. All right, some more fan art. Nothing really stands out to me. A lot of just copied stuff from the pages of the comics. Oh, and we get an actual ad for Boof here. I don't know how successful Boof was. I don't think it was very successful at all. So they just the advertisement here. First of all, it's not even in color. So like, how much effort are you putting into the advertisement campaign for this comic? It says, famous on-the-road adventures, Hope and Crosby, Thelma and Louise, Bonnie and Clyde, they all pale to Boof and Nick. Sure do. Watch as they hotwire Nick's brother's car and hit the highway. Okay, so Boof number 3, story by Fizco Smith, featuring art by Clearly Cleary. I think that's a typo and should have said Psycho. I mean, Fizco, maybe, but that's just, if there's a reference there, I don't understand it. I'm going to go with, I think that's a typo. And of course, the infamous Wildcats Adventures, horrible animated series. You know, Jim Lee, the best part of this whole project is Jim Lee doing a slightly less stylized detail style. Maybe Jim Lee doing his most animated look here, and it's kind of fun. You know, almost like not quite Bruce Timm, but again, Jim Lee doing an animated cartoon style. Pretty cool, and that's about all that's cool about this show. So there you have it, guys. That is my review of Spawn number 23. If you're subscribed and you're still watching, thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. We're looking to hit 500 subscribers, which officially makes us an official recognized YouTube channel. So those of you who are watching and possibly are not subscribed, please do so below. Only takes a second, really helps the channel out, it helps us grow, and helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. So everyone out there, have yourselves an awesome weekend and have yourselves an awesome day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.